Mr. Strozier, who is running for the Board of Education. I'm Trenton Adams. Welcome to the CCRP candidate interviews, and thank you for taking the time out of your campaign to participate in this interview process. We've extended this invitation to all candidates in this race and have found that it has been an asset that aids voters in making their decision. The video will appear on the Cherokee County GOP website, and every effort will be taken to maintain it exclusively on that site. The interview will be shown in its entirety. For the interview, we will ask you around 30 questions, but can offer no prompting. There are no right or wrong answers, only your answers. We ask each candidate the same questions. If this is all right with you, then I'll have everyone introduce themselves, and then I'll ask Mr. Staver to begin asking the questions.
That's fine, and thank you for y'all's time to contribute to the Republican Party.
Jack Staver.
Harry Abrams, welcome, Robert.
All right. First question, Robert. Are you currently a member of the Cherokee County Republican Party?
No, I'm not officially a member because I have not paid my dues.
How does your political affiliation impact the children of Cherokee County? And how would you work within the Board of Education to make the system more nonpartisan and less divided?
I'll answer the second first. To make it more nonpartisan and less divided, I'll have civil, professional conversation without vitriol, without emotion, and seek solutions instead of rhetoric. I'd like to work with people instead of work against people. Would you repeat the first part of the question, please?
Yeah, how does your political affiliation impact the children of Cherokee County?
Currently, I work with special needs children. I believe that at the Republican Party stands for local involvement, not federal involvement. As such, I do as much work in the community as possible and contribute as much as possible so as to avoid as much government intervention as possible.
What are the duties and responsibilities of a school board member?
The duties are to scrutinize the budgets, the audits, to oversee the superintendent is implementing policy correctly, and to make sure that the school system is held accountable to a high degree of excellence.
Describe the process for raising property taxes in Cherokee County.
It's twofold. One, you can raise the millage rate. Secondly, you can increase the tax digest and leave the millage rate alone. And both ways are ways of increasing property taxes in the county.
What is the maximum millage rate that can be charged?
Without approval, 20. Currently, the school district is at 19.45, which is the 16th highest in the state of 159 counties.
What are your thoughts on building new schools versus retrofitting old schools?
I would prefer to retrofit old schools as much as possible. One of the problems is retrofitting old schools, the money tends to come out of the general fund versus the capital fund. And as such, taking money out of the general fund to maintain schools results in a shortfall in funding for regular school days. So unfortunately, the way the system is structured, the school system is tearing down schools instead of retrofitting them and building new schools because it's easier to fund them under an EdSplost than it is to take the money out to the general fund for maintenance and retrofitting the schools.
How do you feel about zero-based budgeting?
If zero-based budgeting is defined as not increasing automatically by the rate of inflation, I'm always in favor of zero balanced budgeting.
How do you feel about teachers keeping handguns in class?
I think that we need to I think the best thing that we need to do is take care of our students and make sure our students are safe. Putting a sign in front of the school saying a gun-free zone is not the way to ensure our students are safe. If our teachers are confident that they have the ability to handle a gun correctly and school board policy and state policy will allow it, I would be in favor of it.
What is the average class size in Cherokee County?
Unfortunately, I would give you an approximation. I do not know exactly, but I will go with 30.
school board member, who would you seek advice from?
I would seek advice from parents first, because they know what they're dealing with every day with their children. The second source would be asking teachers for their feedback on things that they see could be improved within the system. So I would say the parents and the teachers.
I'm gonna ask 11 and 12 together because they are related. How is teacher performance measured first? And how do you think it should be measured second?
I currently am not sure exactly how teacher performance is measured. I've heard that it includes test scores as well as peer review. I would like to see an all-of-the-above approach where it's peer review, test scores, and questionnaire answers. And those questionnaires would be given to the students in high school to fill out, and in the middle and elementary levels, see those questionnaires be given to the parents to fill out.
What are some of the challenges facing our district now?
Class size. Our class sizes are too large. And the main function of that is too many of our tax dollars are flowing out of our county into the state coffers. There are various ways of addressing class size. If I have 5 minutes, I could go into a plethora of ways to address class size. However, I believe we're limited to 2 minutes in time, so I'll have to defer until later and see if we have more time to address that question.
What are we doing to improve graduation rates?
Currently, my understanding is that Title I money has been tied to tracking students, especially in high school, to ascertain why they are leaving the school system, whether they're moving or whether they're dropping out. Since the Title I money was tied to the tracking of the students, the graduation rate has actually increased in Cherokee County as measured by the new metric. Unfortunately, before the Title I money was made available, there seemed to be a lack of motivation in tracking students.
What are your ideas to improve student performance?
The best way to improve student performance is parental involvement. We have to convince parents that the most important thing in their children's life is an education. Sports is wonderful, and I enjoy sports, but parents need to become involved with their children. We need feedback between the teachers and the parents. Parents need to keep up with their children's assignments, sit down with them for at least 2 hours a day and do homework, make sure their children are turning in their homework, and make sure that the parents understand what their grades are and why the children are receiving the grades that they receive.
What are your ideas to aid teachers?
My first idea is to lower class size once again. We have to get class size down. When there are 30 students or more in a class, a teacher is unable to teach to all ends of the spectrum. One of the things that my son was able to do when he was at Etowah High School was go to labs after school. Those labs are extremely important for the students who are falling behind or not grasping the concepts as quickly as others. I found that that was the most beneficial thing to my son, was having labs that he could take afterwards where teachers were available to assist him in catching up. And then when he came home, we emphasized those points.
What are your ideas to improve communication with parents?
I think the best way to communicate with parents is through the grade system, where we use an online grade system where the parents can go online, track the progress of their students, track whether the homework was turned in, track their grades, and then make sure that they email the teachers immediately if they have any concerns as to what's happening with their children.
This next question I'm going to preface by saying the state benefit health plan has changed their standard and has indicated that by the start of 2015, that there will be multiple insurance options available to address teacher concerns such as healthcare plan changes with the local legislative delegation?
Well, the first thing you do is you sit down and talk with the local delegation. As much as possible, I try to attend Representative Caldwell's Saturday meetings. You discuss options. Obviously, having multiple options for health care is the best idea. If we're advocating school choice for parents for their children, there should also be choices as to which health care plan a teacher finds the most acceptable for their family's needs.
What can be done to ensure teachers are better compensated?
It's one of the most difficult questions there is. Do you tie that to test score performance? Because if you do, then you have a curriculum and teaching, which is teaching to a test. If you tie it to peer review, then you tie it to who gets along with whom the best. That's why I believe in an all-of-the-above approach, where you combine test scores with questionnaires that go to students and parents, and with peer review. You assimilate the three, and then you ascertain how the teacher is doing. And if they are performing above average, then they receive a bonus. And if they're not above average, then they don't receive a bonus. It's very simple.
In what ways has the Federal Reserve policy affected the school budget?
In a positive manner, it's affect interest expense. When the school system recently rolled over their debt, they were able to procure a low interest rate. This helped lower interest expense in the short term. Unfortunately, when the Federal Reserve reverses their policy and starts to tighten, interest expense is going to go up substantially. On the negative side, the dollar versus hard commodities such as gold, silver, oil, and any food substances such as corn and wheat, those prices have gone up, not as a function of the commodities going up, but as a function of the dollar going down. So we're currently paying more in gasoline and food costs than we were previously. So Federal Reserve policy for the past 6 years has helped in regards to interest expense, but hurt in regards to gasoline and food expenses.
What is Article 8 of the Georgia Constitution?
Article 8 of the Georgia Constitution defines that the state of Georgia will provide free education prior to college to all citizens of the state of Georgia. It's broken down into several categories. It provides for a state school board, a state superintendent, local school boards, and means of taxation to pay for the education of the students.
Please describe the geographic boundaries of your district.
That's a little challenging, but I will give it my best shot. On the northern end, it stops at the Little River Bridge, all the west side of Bells Ferry, going from Little River Bridge all the way to Cobb County, and all the way from Bells Ferry Road all the way to Bartow County. It also encompasses part of Town Lake. It encompasses the Wingate area of Town Lake and the west side of Town Lake Parkway, going towards Putnam Ford, and takes part of Putnam Ford and incorporates it into the district as well. The west side of Putnam Ford.
What is your opinion on the Common Core State Standards Initiative?
I'm opposed to Common Core. I believe that Common Core is just another version of No Child Left Behind. We've been down this road before. It's tied to federal dollars. It ends up costing us more money, and we don't have any better results from it. The state constitution dictates that the state of Georgia is responsible for education. It's not the federal government that we should depend on for our education dollars. The state provides for our education of our children. And as such, the federal government really should have no role in influencing or controlling our state education system.
What are your most important interests outside of your current work?
Working with special needs children. I've done it for years. I've been a coach and commissioner of a special needs baseball league since 2002. Prior to that, and somewhat simultaneously, I was a basketball coach at Cleveland Boston, Chapman, E.T. Booth, and at Etowah High School, I was a YBOA basketball coach for several years. So I guess you would say coaching in sports of our youth and our children.
Do you have any relatives who work for the school district? And if so, would you recuse yourself from voting for budget and other related matters?
I do not have any relatives whatsoever who work for the school system. And I find it abhorrent that anyone would not recuse themselves from voting on a budget issue if it affected the income of their own household.
A few tougher questions now. Have you ever had any license revoked or not renewed for cause or been the subject of professional discipline or cited for breach of ethics or unprofessional conduct by any bar association, disciplinary committee, court, administrative agency, or other professional group? Or have you been expelled from any organization, and if so, please explain.
The answer to all of them is no.
Have you or has any organization or business under your control ever declared a bankruptcy or been sued or currently facing liens or other financial issues?
No.
Have you ever been arrested for or convicted of any crime excluding minor traffic offenses?
No.
Could you please describe one instance in which you faced an ethical dilemma and how you resolved it?
I'll give an interesting case. When I was coaching fourth grade basketball at Cleveland Boston Elementary, in a basketball game, there's supposed to be 5 players on the court. The other team only had 4 players. I had the option of putting 5 players on the court because we had 8 players present. However, I thought to teach the children correctly that I was coaching, what we need to learn is character. So instead of playing 5 players against their 4, we put 4 players out against their 4 for the entire game.
Are you currently connected to any outstanding unpaid taxes in any way?
No.
Is there anything else we should know that has not been addressed? And this is your time to address the voters on anything you'd like.
I just want to make sure that I said that correctly in regards to the basketball game. It was we put 4 players against their 4 players the entire time. Would you repeat the last question in its entirety, please?
Is there anything else we should know that has not been addressed?
I'm a Christian, conservative Republican. I honestly believe that I have the knowledge and the innovative ideas to lower class size and improve the graduation rate in Cherokee County. We have a wonderful school system as measured by test score performance. We need to improve the most important goal for our children, which is to improve the graduation rate. Graduating from high school is the first step to giving our students an opportunity to succeed in life. And that should be the primary goal of the school district, is getting our children to the finish line. The finish line is a high school diploma.
Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert?